Ahead at the international desk, a vast government purge expands in Turkey since the failed coup. Donald Trump officially nominated for US president, but is there tension in the team? And the new British Prime Minister visits Germany for tough talks on the Brexit. Welcome, I'm Lynda Kinkade. We start with the growing fallout from the failed coup in Turkey. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan could announce new measures soon as the government suspends even more employees. Mr. Erdogan held a long meeting with his Security Council today. He's also meeting with the full cabinet. We expect to hear him to appear and make some sort of announcement soon. So far, some 60,000 civil servants, including police, judges and teachers, have been suspended. Another 6,500 from the Education Ministry were added to that list a short time ago. And 9,000 are detained, including top military officers. Our senior international correspondent Arwa Damon is watching all those developments from Istanbul. Arwa, the post-coup purge continues, sackings, dismissals, detentions. Numbers are huge, and it's not just within the military, but educators. Explain why.
It most certainly is, Lynda, and among all those numbers, you also have the deans of universities that have all been asked to resign. Now, the government's logic is that, and if you'll remember, this is a government, President Erdogan is accusing Fetulah Gulen, that cleric living in self-imposed exile in the United States, of being behind this coup and his movement. The Gulen movement's message is, according to the Turkish government, at least disseminated within these various different educational institutions. So they want to try to go after any sort of methodology that may exist there, any sort of infrastructure that there may be within the educational sector that perhaps the movement was using to try to get its message out, to try to continue to recruit support, and also potentially go after individuals who may have been directly involved in it. What the government will say is that they are really trying to ensure that this does not happen again, and that's why they are taking such extreme measures. But of course, when the population looks at this, at least the segment of the population that does not necessarily support these wide sweeps, seemingly, they would say, indiscriminate sackings and detentions, it does cause quite some concern. But again, the government will say that they're trying to stop the message from getting out there, and they're going after anyone who might even have been remotely involved.
And Turkey has, of course, presented the US with an extradition order for the Muslim cleric Fetulah Gulen, who you mentioned, who they claim is behind the failed coup. What's the latest on that process?
Yeah, there's a bit of confusion as to exactly what it was that the U.S. was presented with. Now, the Turkish authorities have said that they have 4 files, and they will end up having thousands and thousands of pages of evidence and of statements from various people who were involved in this coup that they would then be presenting to the United States. We've heard conflicting messages as to whether or not that extradition was in fact directly asked for, but Turkey fully expects that once the whole legal process has reached a conclusion on this end, and they have brought everything to the U.S.'s attention and delivered it through those various different mechanisms, that America will in fact go out, detain and extradite Fetulah Gulen. The president has said that how the U.S. reacts to this request will be a direct measure of, as he put it, America's friendship towards Turkey. So there's a potential out there for a lot of tensions between 2 key NATO allies at a time when the region can't really afford it at this stage. But Turkey is really at this stage feeling as if it is well within its rights to make this demand of the United States.
And the president is, of course, holding a couple of pretty serious meetings today with his cabinet, but also his security detail. He is expected to speak shortly. What do you think we'll hear from him?
Well, we may be hearing something about additional measures that will be taken. We may possibly, there's all sorts of speculation that we may or may not hear that a state of emergency might be imposed. The first meeting that took place lasted for about 4 hours and 40 minutes, and that was with the National Security Council. Worth mentioning, though, that a fair number of generals and senior military leadership that perhaps would be at that table are, of course, quite possibly among those who have been detained. We then have this other cabinet meeting that is going to be taking place. That could actually go on for hours, as it has in the past. But we are expecting a statement to come out shortly from the National Security Council meeting. And then later on, of course, we and the nation are waiting to hear what the president himself has to say, Lynda.
Okay, and we will come back to you when those comments or that statement is made. Arwa Damon, thank you very much.